Hello everyone. In this lesson, let's add Sentry to our backend. It makes sense to start by creating our project in Sentry. Go to our projects and create a new one. Okay, so we have Node.js. Here it is. All right, we'll name the project Backend. Done. We've created the project. Well, I'm using a framework. But again, it doesn't matter. All that matters here is the DSN. DSN copied. Now let's go to our env files in the backend. env and env example. So we add the following. This is env example. Again, these variables will be optional for local development, so we mark the backend Sentry DSN as a secret. And source version. We had some old logic here, but later it will generate itself. Okay? We need to add these variables to our regular env file. In Sentry DSN, we insert the DSN itself. And in source version, well, let's say 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Now, add it here. Now we need to add it to the NFTs file. NFTs. These two variables. Good. With env sorted. Now, just like we installed the dependency on the front end, we also need to install it on the back end. For this, there's a Sentry node. Let's install it. And we proceed to create a file for initializing our Sentry. In the lib folder, create the file Sentry. Good. And our code will be the following. It's very similar to our front-end code. So, what do we have here? Again, if we have a DSN declared, then we initialize in Sentry. We pass in the DSN, our environment, release, and again, normalize depth to deeply see our errors, and create a helper to send some errors to Sentry. In Sentry, you can send, if we look at it from the front end, how we have it. We just sent the error itself here because we typically just log the error. But on the back end, when we log something, we also send metadata if possible. Let's look at the logger. Sometimes when we send an error, we also have some metadata here. And it can also be sent to Sentry, which will be very useful because we can look at something additional beyond the error itself. Therefore, here in backend Sentry, as a second argument, we can pass this metadata, but we need to export its type from the logger. And in the logger, we previously just called it meta because we only used it internally. Now I suggest renaming it to logger metadata since we are exporting it to make it clear. The type needs to be exported. Exported the type. All right, so that's set. And now we need to work with the logger itself. That is, we try to ensure that all absolute errors in the backend are logged. Therefore, we will send errors to Sentry during the logging phase because we are certain that all the errors are there in the logger itself. So now we need to work with the logger and add the following code to our error method. The code will be as follows. Two types of errors can basically end up here. These are TRPC errors if the error was created by TRPC itself, and it can include just our own error that we sent there. So if we search for .error in the backend, then we see, for example, here we send an error we created. Here, yes, some Axios threw an error, and sometimes an error in TRPC occurs, and then ends up here. According to our old logic, we need to determine whether it's expected or unexpected. And we do the following. Is it a native expected error? This is on the condition that an error occurred here, which is an instance of our expected error. Then we check if TRPC is an expected error. If it's a TRPC error, and it has an error cause that we've dealt with before, and it's an expected error, then it's still an expected error. That's all. Well, here we just prettify the element as before. And then, if it's an unexpected error, neither native nor TRPC, then we send it to Sentry. Here, with prettifying and therefore here you don't need to prettify the date method. We can pass it specifically to our own logger. All right, and now this should work. Let's create some error and try to send it to Sentry. So, according to the old logic, let's check that unexpected errors aren't sent there. Console log sent to center. Well, and why go far? Let's just throw an error right in the index.ts file. So true, new, first, a regular one, unexpected error. Okay, let's just mark it, and look at the logs of our backend. Okay, sent to center occurred, and also throw expected error. It should be an expected error. So, expected, error was thrown. And here, there were no logs sent to the center. So it's working now. Let's go check our center to see if there are any errors. All right, now we have two projects. Let's go to the backend. Okay, we need issues. Issues can be sorted by project and specified as needed. Let's filter for the backend. Apply filter. There's an unexpected error. And the expected error is logically not there because we didn't send expected error here. So everything is fine. Let's look at our error. And it appeared, but we still... So, in this case, he sees the source map correctly. Somehow, he managed it. But let's try building our backend. And let's make sure that we really need the source map. Let's do it. pnpmb build. And... run it in production mode. pnpmb start. Okay. At some point, we broke a dependency. Very sorry. All right. We need to figure this out. Yes, well, I'll fix this in the previous lesson's code. But since it happened, let's take note. We couldn't build the backend because we import our routes on the backend. And in our routes, we use React Router DOM. So if you look at the whole thing, we're using React Router DOM here to conveniently access our parameters directly from the route on the front end. But on the back end, we don't have React Router DOM. That's it. And we have two paths. Either we have to remove it from here, then we lose this advantage of ours. And on the front end, we'll have to usually use useparams and pass those route parameters to it. And it will become inconvenient to work on the front end, right? The other option is to simply install React Router DOM on the back end. It may seem odd, but it's okay, because on the back end, it doesn't matter what's there or not. So that's what I would do. Yes, I've already installed it. This error is gone, but now we have another error. When we added shard package, I forgot to set up path replacements in the backend's TS config. So we need to add shard here. It will be included in the code of previous lessons. But it won't be in the video. Okay, add it. And now let's try building our backend again. pnpmb build. So I installed React Router DOM and added paths for shard here. Great. It built. Now let's run the built version. pnpmb start. Oh, we have an error now. Expected. But we need it not to be expected. Let's go to index.ts and unexpected, error 2. So, and it should be an expected error. All right, let's build again. pnpm b build and pnpmb start. Okay. Unexpected error sent to the center. And go to the center. We need only backend errors. Okay. Unexpected one. We need the second one. Here, the second one appeared, and we see in the built code some ugly structures. Not very clear. Here, you can still guess where the error is. But that's not enough. Nevertheless, and in the subsequent lesson, we will add source map to our backend. And now we can move on. Thank you all. See you soon. Pul M.